Hey, what's up guys? It's me Pratima from Gadget Byte, and finally I am here with the full review of the Realme GT Master Edition, which is the most affordable phone in the company's GT series. Last week I came up with a review of the standard Realme GT where I had said that Realme needed to kill off its X series and bring something new to reignite excitement for the company's premium segment. And moving forward, I think the GT series is an incredibly positive step. If you're not aware, the Realme GT series features three devices: the Realme GT, the Realme GT Master Explorer Edition, and the Realme GT Master Edition. Sadly, the GT Master Explorer Edition is not launching in India and other South Asian markets because BBK Electronics, the parent company of both Realme and OnePlus, thinks that it could hurt the upcoming launch of the OnePlus 9RT, since the rumors point to these two phones bearing identical specs. Anyway, the Realme GT Master Edition, or the GT ME in short, here delivers an excellent value for money. For me, it is almost a perfect mid-range phone in 2021, although there are some caveats which I will talk about later in this review. Here, the first thing that Realme has learned from its previous mistakes can be seen on the design front. The company's recent couple of launches like the Realme X7 Max and the X7 Pro had this bizarre design choice, which naturally received a lot of valid criticism. However, that complaint is gone for good with the Realme GT ME, since this phone adopts a new, unique-looking design that feels refreshing and definitely something I like. For this, Realme has collaborated with Japanese designer Naoto Fukasawa to make something they call a suitcase design. Looks aside, I am quite fond of the feel of this vegan leather as well, while the horizontal grid pattern provides me with a nice grip. It doesn't gather any dust or smudges either, so I've used it without a case so far. But sadly, it did catch some scribbles that don't go away easily. So yeah, it's always safer to use a case, and Realme has provided one inside the box. Even the case embodies the suitcase design so that the phone's texture is not quite lost when putting it on. To be honest, it is much better than the generic transparent cases that we usually get on phones these days. Anyway, if the suitcase approach is not quite up to your taste, there's also a Luna white version of the GT ME with a standard glossy glass-like finish. I also admire Realme's signature form factor, which is lighter and compact than most mid-range phones you could find right now. Not to mention, they also have retained the 3.5mm headphone jack, which I think is a perfect example of companies taking feedback seriously from their community, in this case, the Realme community. Okay, moving on to the display. In 2021, it has pretty much become a norm for premium mid-range phones to feature a quite stellar display, and the Realme GT ME here is no exception. I found its screen quality to be almost identical to the one from the Realme X7 Max, maybe even better. You're getting a familiar 6.4 inches 1080p AMOLED display with a smooth 120Hz refresh rate and up to 360Hz of touch sampling rate. During my usage, I've been quite pleased with the overall quality of this panel. Although it's not as color accurate as the ones on significantly more expensive flagship phones, this one still offers punchy colors with excellent contrast and brightness levels. And thanks to the 360Hz touch sampling rate, the touch response is excellent as well. Hence, I have thoroughly enjoyed the fluidity while typing or playing games on this thing. Plus, the onboard in-display fingerprint sensor is quite responsive too. Because of the phone's compact form factor, the position of the sensor is also spot on for my hand. Still in all, the vibration feedback is not that great and is strictly okay-ish for the price. So yes, this is definitely one area where Realme can improve upon. As for the performance, with the combination of Snapdragon 778G and a 120Hz refresh rate, everything is smooth on the GT ME, from UI transitions to using any apps like Chrome or Instagram. Realme has optimized this chipset and its UI ridiculously well, so much so that you don't feel that big of a difference between, say, this phone and a Snapdragon 888 powered device like the Realme GT. Just goes on to show how much Qualcomm's mid-range Snapdragon 700 series chipsets have evolved and are impressively closing the gap over the flagship Snapdragon 800 lineup. So if you are a light to moderate user who mostly uses Instagram, WhatsApp, Chrome and such kind of apps, practically you should have the same user experience on the GT ME as the more expensive phones. Additionally, the GT ME does not tend to get warm or overheat while using light apps either, while that's not the case with Snapdragon 800 series or MediaTek's Dimensity 1200 powered smartphones. However, the one key area where the GT ME lags behind is when playing extremely demanding games. Here, pushing Genshin Impact to the highest of settings results in frequent stutters and overheating after just 5 minutes into the game. On the contrary, you will get comparatively better performance from Dimensity 1200 or Snapdragon 870 powered phones. Other games like PUBG Mobile and Call of Duty run fairly smoothly though, and the phone does not heat up that bad either. You can achieve 40 FPS in PUBG Mobile under HDR graphics and ultra frame rates with 100% stability. Setting the graphics to smooth and frame rates to extreme gets you smoother 60 FPS gameplay as well. Call of Duty, which is another graphics-intensive yet optimized game, can hit 60 FPS under high graphics and max frame rates. Sadly, 120 FPS titles like Critical Ops, Oddmar, and Mortal Kombat cap out at 60 FPS. But according to Realme, they've vowed to bring 120 FPS mode on these games pretty soon, including a high refresh rate option in PUBG Mobile. Okay, one of the reasons why I said the Realme GT ME just might be a perfect mid-range phone is because of its impressive camera performance. Here, I like the images from its primary camera during daylight. Compared to the OnePlus Nord 2, it has better details and pleasing punchy colors. So most of the time, you will find the Realme GT ME doing a better job here. Still, being a mid-range phone, it does struggle to take close-up shots better as it does not have a shallow depth of field. At times, you will notice the camera struggling to lock in focus as well. Nonetheless, portraits are much better on the Realme GT ME, maybe even the best in its class. As you can see, it has superior highlight control and shadow processing alongside better skin tone. It also maintains the exposure and the background colors better, hence the Realme GT ME is a clear winner on this front. Selfies are equally good from this phone too. Although they are slightly beautified, I like the warm skin tone it produces, whereas the details and colors look equally nice too. Portrait selfies also have a good natural background and look pleasing. Here, its 8-megapixel ultra-wide-angle sensor is not extraordinary, although decent for the price. Its images have a slight color shift with a warmer tone and subpar details. But if there is ample light, the photos come out usable. Now, what's average about the Realme GT ME is its nighttime shots and videography capabilities. As you can see, the nighttime images from the GT ME introduce a lot of noise and have a soft, not so pleasing output. On the contrary, the OnePlus Nord 2 shoots photos with better low-light performance in the normal mode. Turning on night mode, once again, the Nord 2 maintains better exposure and details most of the time, while the Realme GT ME is not that far behind while being slightly inconsistent. In terms of videography, you can record up to 4K 30 FPS footage with gyro EIS from this phone. However, the stabilization is not great in 4K 30 FPS and 1080p 60 FPS mode, while there's a noticeable wobble if your hands are not that still. To compare, Nord 2's videos come out much steadier, so I had to dial down the setting to 1080p 30 FPS to get better stabilization. You can also shoot videos from the ultra-wide-angle lens at 1080p resolution with fairly decent stabilization. Hey guys, so right now I'm shooting a selfie video from the Realme GT ME at 1080p 30 FPS resolution, which is the max you can go from this phone. In this resolution, the field of view is wider, but the videos come out a bit shaky. However, you can turn on the super steady mode, which crops the videos a little, but the stabilization is better, in fact really good in this mode. Apart from that, the subject and the background looks good and the audio quality is good enough for casual recordings. Another aspect where the Realme GT Master Edition does a pretty good job is the battery endurance. Realme is one of those brands that does not usually include a big battery in favor of a lighter and slim form factor, and to no one's surprise, Realme has opted for a relatively smaller 4500 mAh cell here. Its battery life is not spectacular, but if you are a moderate user, it should last you through the day. But since I am a relatively heavy user, I had to charge the battery as soon as I'd get home from the office. Nevertheless, it's not that big a deal since Realme's proprietary 65-watt Type A to Type C charger only takes about 30 minutes to go from 0 to 100%. With that out of the way, allow me to talk about the things I did not like about this phone. First, it has to be the number of bloatware apps that come pre-installed here. This has to be some sort of record for the number of bloatware among any other smartphone brand right now. Although someone like us with the technical know-how will be able to uninstall such apps or block their notifications pretty easily, such notifications could be incredibly frustrating for someone like our grandparents or anyone with little to zero idea about the cause of such nuisances. Another aspect where the Realme GT ME sees an unnecessary compromise is in the speaker front. You only get a single speaker here, while the smartphones from practically every other company at this price range come with dual speakers. Even though the audio setup is decently loud with good clarity, I have dearly missed the immersive audio experience that we get from smartphones with dual speakers.
How can you be up when I'm down? Don't wanna think about it right now. Maybe you just wanna be friends, but there is a vibe when we are talking. Maybe you just wanna pretend, but I can read between the lines.
To conclude, despite some of its obvious flaws, if you look at what the Realme GT Master Edition offers for the price, overall it is without a doubt an incredibly promising and well-balanced offering. Still, one crucial thing you might want to consider is that the Realme X7 Max, which is quite similar to the Realme GT Master Edition, is usually available for some 25,000 Indian rupees every now and then. So you might want to get that instead and save some cash. So there you have it, our full review of the Realme GT Master Edition, also known as the Realme GT ME. Next up, we're also coming up with the Realme Book Slim review pretty soon, so stay tuned for that by subscribing to our channel and hitting that notifications icon. Till then, I'm Pratima and I'll see you in the next video.